we're really lucky to have Billy here today, Billy Bragg. I'm sure he's going to say a few words about himself and what we're going to do. But we're going to be focusing on songwriting today, trying to get the most out of Billy while he's here. We're going to do a bit on that melody that we were just going through there. We're just going to put some words to that. And then in the second half, we were talking about writing a whole song together from scratch today. So I think this bit could probably take an hour or so, and I think it might be one of those things where some people stay here to work on the band bit, and some people go off with Billy, whoever wants to, including those people who play instruments. Anybody who really wants to get their words and their input and their ideas into the song can go with Billy to hopefully there's another.
We've just counted the choir, so D9 is 3, so there's another classroom.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. So I'm going to hand you over to Billy.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm very pleased to be here today, to be working with the Coastal Voices project, and I've met some of you already on Tuesday down in Lyme Regis. I'm a singer-songwriter, that's my job, that's what I do. I write songs, I spend a lot of time travelling on the road doing gigs. Every now and then I make recordings, but generally I'm writing songs and doing gigs. How did I end up being a songwriter? When I was your age, like most people of school age, I was encouraged to write poetry. And I wrote poetry, and for some reason all the other kids in my class stopped writing poetry, but I didn't stop writing poetry. I kept writing poetry from the age of about 12 till I was about 16 when I learned to play guitar. And learning to play guitar allowed me then to write music, write tunes to go with my poetry. And I kept at it. I left school when I was about 16. I had a number of interesting jobs, working in record shops, filling up cars with petrol, driving a tank. And all that time I was still writing songs, I was still playing my instruments, I was still taking time to do gigs, and eventually when I was about 25 years old I was able to start making a living. For the last 25 years I've been making a living as a singer-songwriter, doing festivals in the summer, doing touring in the winter. And I can tell you it's a great gig. Not only is it incredibly fulfilling as an activity, because there's a huge amount of self-expression involved, and the response you get from people is great, but also you don't have to get up in the mornings. It's a brilliant job. In fact, that was the thing that first attracted to me, to the idea when the careers officer came and said, what do you want to do? And Rockstar was near the top of my choices. So I was very pleased I got that. So today we're going to look at songwriting. We're going to try and start to write a lyric to go with the melody that you've composed already and worked on with John. Now, how do you write songs if you've never written a song before? Where do you start? Well, you definitely don't start with a blank sheet of paper. Nobody starts with a blank sheet of paper. You really need to start with an idea. You really need to start with something. You know, now that idea could be you have a great tune like we have. We've got a great tune to work on today. But you might not be someone who plays a musical instrument, or you might be someone who plays a musical instrument but you don't, you can't come up with tunes. So if you want to learn to write songs, you want to start writing songs, you need to look at the songs that you love the most, whatever they may be, and take those songs apart and analyse them. If you want to write your first songs, use other people's songs as a framework. When I was your age, a lot of the songs I was writing sounded like Bob Dylan songs, like third-rate Bob Dylan songs, obviously not like real Bob Dylan songs, but Bob Dylan was a huge influence on me, so I wrote in Bob Dylan style. Later I was influenced by a band named The Clash, so I wrote a lot of songs in the style of The Clash, and eventually I worked out how to write songs in my style. It eventually emerged, and strangely enough it's kind of a mixture of a bit of Bob Dylan, a bit of The Clash, and a bit of something else that nobody else had, which was that little bit of me. But that's how you learn to do it. So there's nothing wrong with taking your favourite song, keeping the chorus, but putting your own lyrics in there, or changing, those of you who are already, musically attuned, taking that song and tweaking it a little bit, and putting something else of yourself in there. But the most important thing when you're writing a song is to put something of yourself in there. And that's what we want to try and encourage you to do today in these songwriting workshop that we're going to be running here today. We are going to be asking you to to apply yourself to the ideas of songwriting. But what we really want is you to write a song that you want to write, not write a song that you think, that I think that you might write. You know, I need, you know, I need to know something in your song that I didn't know when I came in this room here. And the way that you do that is you put something very personal in your song. The absolute most personal song I ever wrote was a song about the death of my father. My father died 35 years ago. But that is the song that moves the most people in my audience. The song that people most ever come and speak to me about after the song, after a gig, is that particular song. And I can't help but feel that the reason it touches so many people is because I put so much of myself into it. So if you want to reach a lot of people, rather than writing a bland song that doesn't really touch on any emotions, if you can really dig out something that's very personal to you, you have a much greater effect of when you stand up and say it, resonating with your peers, with people who've had that similar experience to you, which are often people of your same age group. You know, we're in a very strange situation at the moment. My generation, and I know I'm going to sound like an old geezer, but I am in some ways an old geezer, but I'm an old geezer with a guitar. In my generation, when we wanted to speak to one another, when we wanted to speak to our parents' generation, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have our own magazines, we didn't even really have our own programs on the TV. The way we spoke to each other was through our music. We wrote songs, and that's why Jimi Hendrix is on the wall out there. It's because he said something to his generation that they didn't hear from anybody else. It's a very, very powerful medium, music. And in some ways that medium has been dissipated now by social media. There are other ways to, you know, to get your idea out there, to feel as if you're participating. But you can't really make a living out of posting on Facebook, you know. Whereas by being a musician, not only can you make a living, but you can go to a lot of interesting places. Last month I was in America, next month I'll be in Ireland, next year I'll be in Australia. So that's the potential for you if you can write songs that resonate with people, reach in something inside you, get it out there, stand up, be honest about it, and tell that thing that you know that nobody else knows. Get that down on paper. That thing you feel that you don't think anybody else feels. You'll be surprised to find actually there's probably a lot of people in your situation, in your generation, in your class that feel the same kind of things. And that's what songwriting can do. It has the potential to make those connections. And there are also vocational possibilities. I thought I'd better just say that, just so you can put a tick on there. So we're going to do a bit of songwriting right now.